Hey guys, what's up? Let me just mute this because we get a bit of feedback. That should be better. It's Joe from Blue Green. It's the 30th of October 2018. Just wanted to share with you my trades today and the opportunities the market provided us and what I was able to take advantage of and what I wasn't. For you guys that know me, you know I'm always disappointed, so let's start already and show you what happened today and what I was thinking about. First of all, it's good to start with yesterday. Yesterday's close was here, and there was a big gap open in the futures around about 80 or 90 points. So when I came in this morning, I was wondering whether we could close this gap. What I find is, or what we find here is a good exercise to do is bar by bar. So let's start with the morning, and I'll talk you through what was going through my head as much as I can remember, to the best as I can remember it. Sorry, and here we go. So London open 8 o'clock. We don't trade the first candle because sometimes it's a little volatile. You can find yourself offside quite fast. So we leave this candle, and after it closes 8:05, we immediately see that the bears are trying to undo what Frankfurt Open did. So we see this rally before London Open, and the bears straight away try to close it. Here is the exact open of the futures market. We can play the gap close, which would enter below the open and target the close of last night. But I didn't want to do that today just because there wasn't a place I could put my stop. I guess it would have to be all the way up here, which is 100 points, or maybe above big round number, which is 60, 70 points. It's a little bit too big for me. Well, it's twice as much as I would want to risk usually. So I decided to give it a miss, which I was a genius, because if I entered here, I was feeling pretty uncomfortable on the next bar, and I was, applauding myself in my head that I didn't enter this one. Then I was probably too cocky, because with hindsight, this reversal candle here provided a great opportunity to get short and target the gap close, and first target would be this low here, but I didn't take it. I was hoping that the market would come back up to the highs somewhere near big round number, maybe bounce off this support that was provided in Frankfurt Open, but we never got there. And maybe I wasn't focused or something, but I didn't get this trade, which I'll show you now, which immediately was a great one. I mean, T1 was hit pretty much in the next bar, and then we continued to sell off, and I'm kicking myself. But what can I do here? Not much. So I just decided to wait and see what happened. There was some German unemployment data that came out at 8:55. Not that the market looks at any news at the moment. I mean, it's so volatile and you get some really good swings, but it's probably a safer bet to just waiting for the news to get out the way before you think about entering the trade. So I was happy to wait until 8:55 or 9 o'clock and start again. So now the gap's 100% closed. That trade is not available anymore, so I'm happy just to wait and see. Didn't do anything here, just wanted to watch. and see if opportunity presents itself. Around here, I think I started drawing on this trend line, which broke around here. We tested this pivot point once already, and we have chopped around big round number, which seems less and less important as the more the market chops around it. Here we tested pivot point again, it provided some support. Still not much for me to do. I'm happy to just watch. We keep going. You can't really trade anything here. Just waiting and waiting for something. This trend line's pretty useless, and I redrew it to the next support, which is kind of here. Now this is interesting for me because I like to see 3 tests of a trend line before I look to enter a market. Now this setup is pretty good for me, and I wanted to enter here because we see the first test, the second test, and now the third test. It's failed each time. This one was a bounce off pivot as well, and as you can see, there's some good strength here from the bull. So I wanted to enter a little bit above this candle and hope we get to test this high at least. If we got to this high, I would move to break even. Hopefully we could push through it, and then we could kind of test these highs up here for my second target. So I was risking 35 to 40 points here to try and get 1R, and then also up here. So this looked good to me. Immediately I was on side. I was feeling great that we broke straight through here. I could move to break even and hope that this could provide some support now that we've broken through. The market came back and tested this area and then broke straight through, and I was taken out of break even here, which I was a bit gutted about because it looked so good to begin with, and I thought I was onto a winner, and we just didn't get to my target. I think we were like 7 or 8 points away, but nothing lost, and back to the drawing board. What's the next opportunity? See if this trend line still works, which it kind of did. We had another test at this point and another fail, and as soon as this failed here, I'm thinking of ways to get short now. The safest bet in my head was probably below pivot. I didn't really consider this low because I thought this is good enough momentum. We've tried 3 times already and it couldn't break through, so maybe the market will come down and test this low. The only thing I'm thinking about now is what time New York Open is, because the clocks have gone back in the UK and Europe. We are still waiting for the US to follow, which I think they're going to put their clocks back next week. So at the moment, New York Open is 1:30 for us. At 12 o'clock, we consider that traders are by their desks and ready to trade DAX and Forex markets. But we need to keep in our head that at 2:30 is going to be New York Open, and the markets can be pretty volatile. So I didn't want to be in a trade as we approach New York Open. So that was in my mind. But also I thought this is gonna blow down, and I want to be short. We get another test of pivot. It provides a little bit of support, and this bar is exactly what I wanted to see. It's just perfect. It's low volume. which shows weakness by the bulls, not much effort to come and retest this area. So I was happy to put on my short orders here, and immediately I risked 23 points, and I got them immediately on the first two candles. I was at T1. Now the only thing I did wrong here was I only entered with half my position, just because I was a bit too cautious of New York Open, and I didn't think it would go much further, but once again I was proved wrong, and I should have entered with a little bit more, and I would have got T2 before New York Open, before the Open. So I was a little bit frustrated, even though I made money. Like I said, I'm always disappointed. And now there's just nothing else to do to just wait for the Open. Here it is. We have another test of this trend line from Friday's lows, and we bounce back up, and we come back up into this range that was here. Another test of pivot, and back up. Now I lost a bit of focus here. With hindsight, this candle exhaustion bar couldn't even test this high or these highs, and it's already tried 3 times. There was enough room to enter to test this pivot point, and if you would have entered here, you were immediately rewarded, and the next bar you were feeling pretty good about yourself. It's such a good trade. Unfortunately, I couldn't take advantage of this one. I lost a bit of focus. I was watching either GU or GY, and I missed this one. So again, frustrated. But something to take forward, that you got to watch these markets. You got to wait for patterns, and although it's 5 minutes every one of these bars, I'm still missing some good opportunities. So it's a little something for me to work on there. But overall, I was happy to take this trade with the DAX and get some points in the for the P&L. And I think that was all for the DAX. Here we stopped trading around here, so I'll show you other things that I traded today. First trade was GY. Yeah, GY. I won't do this exercise for GY. I'll just show you what happened. Okay. I used to trade this system that we have here, which works really well, but I was unable to trade it profitably. But I learned a lot while I was doing it, and one thing I learned was how often the pound would trick you into think of us breaking out near London Open. So I've developed this pattern of false breakouts, which I would take the opposite side of that. So with the old system, this candle here was the range, and you would look to break out here to maybe try and test for pivot. But I wanted to enter on a false breakout here. So as soon as it closed above this low here, I want to get long. Also, we have big round number, which it failed to break, so I entered long somewhere around here, risking about 18 points to try and get 1R and hopefully break through these highs and keep going to try and get my second target. As you can see, immediately went the right direction. I was feeling pretty good about myself. I'm a genius. And then the market kind of stalled a few points away from my first target, which was somewhere up here. I was a little bit slow to react. I tried to take profit here, but as soon as it popped above this little candle, I immediately started selling off. So I moved to break even and was stopped out. So I was a little bit unfortunate here. And as you'll come to know, around 9:30, GU can get pretty messy. Usually we have some pound news, but there was nothing today from the UK. But sometimes it can be a bit wild around 9:30. So I decided to not look at GY anymore and turn my focus elsewhere, to something I like on GU, which was this. This was Monday's low. As you can see, it's really good support. And this morning, this is the level here. Sorry, it's this purple line here. I'll get rid of this one. I wanted to come and the market to come and test this and use it as resistance so I can get short, which it did around 9:30 once, and then it came back up, tested it again. It was also S1, so I was happy to get short here. Stick to my plan. Risk was real small, maybe 11 or 12, to make sure you're above the level enough that in case we get a little pop above S1, I would be safe. And immediately I was on side, and after 20-25 minutes I managed to get my first target. With the stop, I moved to break even and then trailed it below this trend line, which I drew on after this high. So I followed it down and then just kept it above the range that we were in for over an hour before eventually the market just popped, which is great. I mean, the maximum favorable extortion was 4R at one point, and just above this exhaustion bar was 3R. So I was happy to take 3R. I moved my stop above here and hoped that the bears would continue and maybe get down to S3, which they didn't, and I was stopped out, but very happy with this trade. And then I just wanted to wait. I wanted to wait and see if perhaps the market would come up to this level again, which it did. It did exactly what I wanted. But if I'm honest, I pussied out. I chickened out, and I'll try and explain why. I thought that this was an inside bar, and often after entering a few points below here, I find that the bulls are waiting and then they just continue going upwards. So I wanted to see maybe a pop through here and then it close below S3, then I could enter, but I didn't think this would be good enough for me, and I was proven wrong yet again. This trade worked really well. This is a bit of chop, so maybe it was a bit too much to keep going. Maybe this was an exhaustion bar. The fact is I didn't enter, and after a bit of chop for 15-20 minutes, you were on side and the market didn't even come back to break even. You would have been able to get 1R somewhere around here, and then you would probably aim for somewhere around here for the second target, and if you were brave enough you could have left it on, depending on how long you had in the day to wait. It could have been a really good trade, but I imagine if I were to enter at all with two contracts, I probably would have taken somewhere the second one off around here. So yeah, as you can see, I was a little bit frustrated with this trade because it was my plan, and I didn't follow through with it, and it would have made money. So that's something to take forward to tomorrow. They're not always going to work out, but you've got to take these trades if you want to make money, and I didn't today. So hopefully tomorrow I can improve on that, and that's about it. Thanks for listening, and I'm sure I'll speak again soon. Take care, guys.